If you're traveling with more than 4 people, choosing a rental car in Ireland takes on a whole new complexity. So we're digging into that in today's podcast. If you're feeling nervous about driving in Ireland, I have a tip for you. Trippiamo's Driving in Ireland guide can help calm those nerves. It's verified by local driving schools, and the guide ensures that you're well prepared for every twist and turn of those narrow Irish roads. Plus, they have a unique 360-degree driving tour that gives you the closest experience to real driving even before you arrive. You can practice navigating narrow country lanes, mastering roundabouts, and driving on the left side, all from the comfort of your home. With Trippiamo, you'll be driving like a local in no time. And I have an exclusive discount just for my podcast listeners. You can save $5 on Trippiamo's Guide to Driving in Ireland with code IFV through December 31st, 2024. To check out Trippiamo, all you need to do is visit IrelandFamilyVacations.com/Trippiamo. That is TRIPIAMO. And put those worries about driving on the wrong side of the road to rest. There's a lot of confusion about renting a car in Ireland. Even at the best of times, it can seem to be a little overwhelming and confusing if you really dig into it and are looking at all the extra terms and conditions and things like that. But when you add in considerations for a family or a group, the complexity increases just a little bit, especially if you are traveling with 5 or more people. Now, in the article and podcast episode, Everything You Need to Know About Car Rental in Ireland, which is linked in the show notes, so I highly recommend checking that out. In that, I outline 8 steps you need to take when renting a car in Ireland. But for families and groups, step 4, which is how to choose your car, may be the most important. When you're choosing a car in Ireland, the rule of thumb overall is to choose the smallest car that you can comfortably navigate the country in. But what most people tend to forget about when they're choosing that vehicle is their luggage. The boot, or the trunk as we know it in the US, in Irish cars is smaller than the space in a similar American car. So you need to do the research of not only how many people a vehicle will seat, but also how much luggage it will hold. So what I recommend you do is visit my preferred car rental company, which is Irish Car Rentals. So you'll be able to get to that page at IrelandFamilyVacations.com/ICR. And by using their fleet button at the top of the page, you can research the types of cars that you can expect to see in Ireland. Now, those cars are going to tell you how many people they're going to hold. But they don't say, like 3 large people and 2 small people, or, they'll just say 5 people. And so when you're looking at those, so it's gonna let's start with the Nissan Qashqai. So it's very similar, almost the same exact vehicle as a Nissan Rogue in the US, right? So first you need to be realistic about the size of the people you're traveling with, and then you need to think about the amount of luggage you're going to be carrying with you. Now, some car rental sites will advise you on how many bags can fit in the vehicle. Some won't. It just depends on the site that you're on. But it's important to note that the bag size that they state is not specified. And I've found this to be an average size check bag, so no more than 30 inches in height. So if they do say like it holds 3 bags, it means 3 normal size suitcases, and that's what you're getting in there. So I mentioned the Nissan Qashqai. So there is a Nissan Qashqai 5+2 that the websites say can hold 7 people. I say nay, nay. um, First of all, the +2 will be in the rear of the vehicle where that storage space would be for your bags. So that reduces your already limited luggage space. And it's also not a very roomy spot. So the people that you would tuck into there would need to be small. Now, I've rented a Nissan Qashqai. There were 3 of us traveling. And we had, see, I was in Ireland for 6 weeks. So I had a large suitcase and a carry-on. And then my daughter and my mother had a regular size suitcase, and they each had a carry-on. And we only were able to fit 2 suitcases and personal bags back there. 2 carry-on suitcases had to actually sit in the back seat with my daughter. So it's very limited in space. So I would never recommend it for more than 4 people, and only if those 4 people were traveling light. And if you had a family of 5, I would only recommend it for a family of 5 if 2 of those 5 are small children and you're traveling light. So for more room, you want to look for something that's either called an estate car or a people mover, which will be some sort of minivan. Now, these vehicles have more luggage room in the rear and can fit 5 passengers fairly easily. An estate car looks like a small station wagon, so I think the Ford Focus is the one that you see most often. You will see a few that may be a little bit larger, but overall they're not a very large vehicle. So you can fit, like I said, 5 into an estate car. I would say if they're small, if like one's small, you could get 5 into an estate car. For a 7-passenger minivan, you're still only really getting 5 people in there if you have luggage. That 7-passenger vehicle is not going to fit 7 adults plus luggage. Now, if you're lucky enough to find a 9-seat vehicle, you want to take note of the bag space. For example, the Ford Tourneo Custom, which is a 9-passenger vehicle, if you look on car rental websites that show how many bags can fit, it says 5 bags. So if you have 9 people and 5 bags, that's not quite going to work. I probably wouldn't go over 7, 8 people max in that vehicle. And then you have to realize it is a longer vehicle. So on those narrow roads, you are going to have to pay a bit more attention to the curves and the corners and things like that. So once you've found a vehicle that you think will work for your family or group, I recommend looking online to see if there's a video tour of the vehicle. And if there is, go ahead and watch that. You can zip through it, because most video tours have a whole lot of stuff that you don't need. But I would pay special attention to where it's showing you the interior of the vehicle. Hopefully they mention dimensions. If they don't, see if you can find those and just kind of compare those dimensions, especially of that storage space, to the size of your suitcases, just so you can get an idea of what is going to fit and if you need to size up in the vehicle. I would also recommend looking to see if that vehicle is marketed under a different name where you live. Like I said earlier, the Nissan Qashqai is similar to the Nissan Rogue Sport. So that's the smaller Rogue, the Nissan Rogue Sport in the US. So if you can find something that is very similar, or is the same, like right now I think my favorite vehicle for the family in Ireland, I've had really, really good luck with the Hyundai Tucson. It's been a great vehicle to drive, and it is actually of the same dimensions as it is in the US. So we were able to fit baggage into it. There was plenty of room for my daughters. They weren't squished up against each other. Really, really comfortable family vehicle for a family of 4, maybe 5 if you aren't using car seats. And your whole family isn't full-grown adults. If they are full-grown adults, they'll fit. It's just going to be a little more cozy in the back seat, shall we say. So if you're looking for car rental in Ireland for groups of 5 or more, here's what I recommend. If you have a group of 5 and half of them are small, look for an estate car or a 7-passenger people mover. Like I said, you can get 5 adults into a 7-passenger vehicle, but that back seat is going to be tight. So it's like the smallest adult is going to get stuck there every time. For a group of 6 or 7, you would want a 9-person vehicle, or you're going to be renting 2 smaller vehicles. You could get 8 in there. You're going to have to really watch your luggage, and definitely you're not getting 9 into anything that is smaller than a Mercedes Sprinter with luggage. For groups of 8 or more, you are going to need multiple vehicles. There's no way around it. Like I said, that 9-passenger Ford Tourneo, it's not going to fit 9 people plus luggage. It's just not going to happen. So you would need multiple vehicles, or my recommendation would be to consider hiring a driver guide. I have covered driver guides in the podcast, and it's also linked in the show notes. Definitely check that out if you have a group of 8 or more. It's a very comfortable way to ride. Not only is everybody going to be in the same vehicle, but everybody will get to enjoy the ride, right? You won't have a navigator and a driver both paying attention, one to the road and one to a map, or one to what's, the sides of the road or the other cars, or, the turns coming up. And you'll also have a terrific guide that will share Ireland's history, stories, and probably a little bit of Blarney as you tour the country. So for larger groups, I highly, highly recommend a driver guide for your trip. So I hope this answered some questions. This is a question I get a lot about choosing a car, how to choose the right car, and hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, you can always email me. It's Jody, Jody, at IrelandFamilyVacations.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would love it if you would leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can't leave a review on your podcast app, you can visit Trustpilot at IrelandFamilyVacations.com/trust and say something nice there. I would really, really appreciate it. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, Slán go fóill.